Hello again viewers, it's Peter Elgar from Brentwood, Essex, England. Look, I've been loaned this one to review and test. It's a 1959 Braun made in Germany PAXETTE automatic Super 3. Wow, that means it's top of the range. Now, first I ever heard about PAXETTE was when I started photography and joined the East Ham Grammar School Photographic Society in 1951. But all us 15-year-old boys could only afford 1930s box cameras. One even had a plate camera from the 1920s. You only could afford a 35mm if you had a rich dad. Well, there was one pupil who, in the sixth form when we were, his dad owned a shop, so he had enough money to buy a super duper all singing, all dancing German camera, because just after the war in the 1950s cameras were like gold dust, because everybody had to send in their Leicas and Contaxes to the armed forces. You had to surrender them all for the war effort, and you couldn't get film anyway. But only a very select few were crafty and hang on to their Leicas and Contaxes and dug them out again in 1945 at the end of the war. But in 1955 cameras were in such short supply, and there was 60% purchase tax on them and 40% import duty. They come from abroad. So to own a PAXETTE, it was you had to be really rich. So this is what we saw, a simpler version of this. It didn't have this work. This was the top of the range. Wow. Even a rich dad couldn't afford this one. Anyway, so what is it? It's one with the interchangeable lenses for a start, and it has a built-in meter with selenium cell, because that's so old now the meter's not working because the selenium cell's gone. From 1950s, the selenium inside is all degraded and the meter doesn't work. But so I'll go through some features that I've found with it, and at the end, if I can remember how to do it, I'm going to attach some colour photographs taken with it. So this Braun PAXETTE 1959 Automatic Super 23, it's got a 50mm Enner lens made in Munich, Germany. It's a colour in it, and it's a 50mm 2x8 lens, and it's extremely sharp. Now here we have your focusing there, and there has a rangefinder as well. So this is the window for the rangefinder, and the little beam splitter goes across into the viewfinder here. And when you put your eyes to the viewfinder, in the middle you see the circular rangefinder patch, and when you twist your lens to focus, those two images coincide. It's in sharp focus. But because this is so old, the rangefinder's way out. So what I had to do, I had to test it, and I found if I put it on the 4 feet here, I put some ground glass screen at the back here, it was accurate 4 feet measured with a tape measure. Then I did one with a tape measure against 6 feet. I turn this to, it says 6 feet. I measured it again. It was accurate focus. So I had to take all the pictures by guessing the distance, and after so many years I'm quite good at guessing the distance in feet, not in meters. Anyway, so that's what I've had to do, and they're focusing quite good. Now it's got a SLK pronto shutter, and it goes up to a 300th of a second. Now as it's so old, when I took the exposure I didn't reckon that 300th was going to run at 300th, so I metered it as if it was a 250th. A little bit slower. Now to access the shutter, you've got a combined shutter and aperture control here. They're combined, they move together, and then that is partly the way you can get automatic exposure change without having to calculate if you want different depth of field. So if you've got it on a 60 to the 5.6 say, and you want f16, you don't have to calculate what shutter speed. You just turn that until opposite the little red index, and it automatically gives you 1/8 of a second at f16, because that's coupled. So if you want to uncouple it, what do? There's two black lugs here, and you press those in, then you can turn the aperture ring independently of the shutter speed scale. So that's what I've had to do. I can turn that independently, and then you can set what you want. So if I wanted a see, when you turn it here, it says now a 60th at a 60th at f2.8. Well, if I want something different, I can press that in, and I want more depth of field. I can turn it till it says a 60th at f11 on the little red index. So it's flash synchronized at all shutter speeds because it's a between the lens leaf shutter. And I've used it with flash. You plug your flash in there, and the flash works because I've done it. So then, what other things can we show you in the front? It's got interchangeable lens elements. Now, how do you get the lens off? Well, there's a little. I found there's a little lug here. You can press that in, and then you twist the lens. Trying to do it on the video is not easy. Twist the lens, press it in. Here we are. Then the lens comes off. That leaves you with the shutter at the back, and there's the shutter blades, and this is the lens. Now that's the 2.8 lens, and there's a little notch here where you fit it back again to a little notch in there with a little red dot. So we'll leave that off for the moment because I'm going to show you the action of the shutter etc. by showing how to load the film and also how to take the back off. And to load the film, you've got to unscrew this, and that was extremely stiff. But with a little bit of minute amount of lubrication, it's no longer stiff, comes up a treat. Beautiful. Like that. Slides off. And a tiny little bit of lubrication down here with a little tiny bit of lubricant on a paper towel. Just rub it. The back will slide off. Now, there's a weird pressure plate here. Your film goes underneath that pressure plate, so you have to make certain the surface of that pressure plate is absolutely clean, otherwise you get scratched film. And although I can't see it, I did have some scratches on some test film. The cassette goes in here. Oh, we got an old film. Here's an old film. You have to pull that little lever up like that, and you've got to put your cassette in there, and then you put that lever down, and you pull out the pressure plate. Now this is the bit, trying to do it without sitting down onto the video. You pull this across, you tuck that into a little slot here by winding until you can see the little slot. Well, there's the little slot. Now I've had several films slip out. Now, oh yes, here we are. I first of all thought this was an old film which had been used several times. Right, now as far as I can see, I've pushed that in tight. So now we wind on this film until the action shows you got the sprocket holes on the double part of the film here. That should be taken up, yes. Well, then you put the pressure plate back. Then you put the back on. It goes on a treat now because it's been lubricated. Push it in and gently screw it in. It's quite a long screw. It eventually goes in. I thought to myself, why isn't it going? But it does. It goes in with a bit of screwing. It's all lined up properly. Then you wind it on, then you fire the shutter. Now the action of the shutter is you wind it twice. It's a double wind shutter. One twice. Then you can fire the shutter. One, twice. Fire the shutter. Then in the top here, there's a little window. And you turn this little wheel until number 36 appears in the little window, because it counts down. So if you've got a 24 shot film, you turn this little, you've got a very good eyesight, which I no longer have. Until turn the little wheel until 24 appears in that little window here. Turn the little wheel. I can't see a thing now. The light isn't so good. I think it's on 36, but yeah. Then to remind you what film you've got, there's a little reminder dial here, and you can turn that until you can see if it's negative or if it's got German on it. UT is Umkehr, transparency film. That's transparency film. You turn it to your little index here. It doesn't do anything, it just reminds you what film you've got in. So then you can start taking your snaps. Oh, I was going to show you the action of the shutter, wasn't I? That's right. Oh, when you finish the film, you press in this rewind knob here, and then you wind back with a lever here, and it winds back the film into the cassette. We'll take it out, we'll see what's happened. It hasn't all the way round. It's saying, good job, it's only a dummy film. Oh, yeah, we are. It's winding across. There we are. Pull up the little catch here. That little catch thing doesn't want to come up now. Oh, here it is. Take it out. Right, we're going to show you the action of the shutter now. Wind it twice until it stops at 2. Here we are. You can see the action of the shutter. You can see it firing. So if I could put that on brief time. Now do the trick here with the aperture. Turn it right back because I want to get them to B. For brief time. There's it on B now. We'll do the trick with the 2 springs here until it says that's 2.8. Now it's on brief time at 2.8. Now there we are. Oh, it must have been on 1 second. It was on 1 second, sorry about that. That's the action. There we are, it's on brief time now. So your light's going through there onto your film. Because I've taken the lens out. So there's no lens element at the back. All your lens elements are contained in that removable part. And there is 35mm focal length. And there's a 135 focal length. And there's several 50s. According to what price range you can afford. So there we are. If you're rich, you can afford the dearest one. But this must be the dearest one because this is an excellent sharp lens. So we put this back very carefully. So we find the red index mark here. We find the red index mark here, and we look for the little slot. And the little slot goes into a little pin. Careful. Everything's careful with cameras. You get the feel of it. You never force anything with cameras. Turn it. It's quite stiff. Now it's safely locked. The lens is safely locked. So there's quite a resistance with the grease. Yeah, but it does focus nicely. It's not like that dreadful Russian grease though, where you've got to force it. This is German grease, and it's quite stiff, but at least it works. The only other thing I noticed with this camera is it won't go to infinity. I focus and it stops on the index at 30 feet 9 meters. So as it's not my camera, and I say never force anything, I'm not going to try to force that until it goes to infinity. But I did take a picture of a building, and I set 30 feet, and the building was sharp, and behind the building was also sharp focus. So that's okay, it seemed to pass. That's about it. the Braun Super #3 automatic camera from 1959, Germany. Braun PAXETTE. Wow! I couldn't afford anything like that. I only had the Kodak Brownie box camera. But there we are. That's what I found about it. And if I'm good enough, I can look at some pictures and see if I can attach them at the end of this video. Okay, thank you very much for watching, folks.